Right, so there is an explosive piece in the Sunday Times today by Tim Shipman and Caroline Wheeler, and Tim Shipman in particular has got a lot of connections with government, and this paragraph here is what is getting a lot of attention. At a private engagement at the end of February, Cummings outlined the government's strategy. Those present say it was, quote, herd immunity, protect the economy, and if that means some pensioners die, too bad, end quote. So this piece, 10 Days That Shook Britain and Changed the Nation Forever, is all about how the government had their casual strategy at the beginning based on herd immunity, based on not going hard on the economy because they were basically liberals, libertarians, and didn't want to impose any draconian measures, but then found they had to pivot hard when that imperial group that they were relying on for their strategy came back with those findings that their strategy would lead to 250,000 deaths. And so then they pivoted hard to go into essentially lockdown mode. According to this piece, Dominic Cummings himself had a Damascene conversion and recognised immediately that what you needed to do at that stage was play for time and have the hardest lockdown possible, just like China and South Korea. But it's been Boris Johnson who's been resistant all the way through to actually doing any kind of like strong socialist intervention measures or lockdown measures and so forth and so on. But nevertheless, this does confirm what you will have seen me saying in all these videos previously, that herd immunity strategy, that doesn't sound like real science, but rather kind of like a science enthusiast's take on things. You know, it's all clever for a computer game in theory, but it's got so many flaws and so many risks that if any part of it goes wrong, immediately you have your NHS swamped, which is then what we saw. The modelling problem was they miscalculated the ICU rate, and so then that means that you surpass the capacity of the NHS critical care, and then you get the overspill, you get tons of avoidable deaths, you get panic, and also importantly, before you go into any strategy like that, you should be seeing whether your NHS is equipped to cope in terms of the personal protective equipment, in terms of the beds, in terms of the ventilators, in terms of the staffing and all the backups that you need. So it really does look like it's been badly mishandled. That's why I tweeted out earlier to the Chief Scientific Advisor, we want a public inquiry into this. It is important. Now, I know some people have said to me, no, that can come out later. Right now, we have to worry about the frontline services and all that. That's where we need to put our emphasis. And they're probably right, but this does need to be looked into because it's really put our science in a bad place to say the government was following the science. That spooked a whole load of other countries that were all following WHO recommendations. We weren't following the science at all if, as this article reports, but also Alex Wickham's BuzzFeed article from a couple of days back also reported, that the policy was largely designed by Dominic Cummings in collaboration with a little clique of data analysts and maybe the Imperial Group, with sort of Sir Patrick Vallance buying into it, but then this caused major rifts with other senior advisors on health policy. And because there was that rift, they were pursuing a policy that not everyone agreed on. So I think this all has been extremely damaging. It's meant that we've proceeded very slowly. Yes, we may be pivoting now, but it hasn't got through to a lot of our population just how serious this is. And it means that we could have this massive hump of infection from people who've been pottering around over the last week, going to clubs and gyms and shops and all that kind of stuff, that have been listening to Boris Johnson saying, oh, not yet, and our journalists saying, well, why aren't we doing what Europe's doing, and then that coming later, and all of that frisson of us being 2 or 3 steps behind, which has caused public confusion as well. So, yeah, there we go. That's the update. To be honest, I'm pretty angry that we weren't guided by the science, but rather by a sort of science enthusiast take leaked to the press and taken too far. This is just not responsible behaviour, and it's most irresponsible for all of the frontline staff who will get swamped too soon without enough protective equipment, and that's where I think the real betrayal of this arrogance happens. Anyway, let's leave that there for now. I will end that there, and I will bring you more updates soon.